Hey, Telman Knutson here, and I want to do a little video for you about self-hypnosis. So in hypnosis, we have a saying, and the saying goes that all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. Now, why would a hypnotist say that? Well, there are a few reasons. First of all, if you've never experienced hypnosis, then this is going to be an extremely educational and informational video for you. And if you have experienced hypnosis, or if you're a hypnotist, then what you're going to find is that this concept of all hypnosis is self-hypnosis is going to dramatically empower both you and your clients to get better, faster, and more permanent results by using the power of hypnosis and the concepts contained inside this video that we're about to do. So, all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. Frequently people want to know, what's the story with hypnosis? How does hypnosis work? How can we use hypnosis to improve our lives? Frequently people are skeptical that hypnosis will work, and more often than not, people don't think that they can be hypnotized. The most common reaction when people hear about hypnosis who don't know anything about it or haven't experienced is, I don't think I can be hypnotized. And the reason for that comes from a misconception. And the misconception is that people somehow, some way, are weak-willed if they can be hypnotized. The reason for this misconception comes from B-level black and white movies, as well as many of the modern stage hypnosis shows that are done today. You don't want to be misinformed. And the way hypnosis actually works is that a hypnotist teaches you, guides you, shows you how to use your own mind and brain to go into what we call the hypnotic state or the meditative state. In terms of science, we're talking about the alpha, theta level of brainwave activity. It's the state that's somewhere between being wide awake and deeply asleep. It's the in-between state. It's the dreaming state if you're sleeping, and it's the daydreaming state if you're awake. They're very, very closely related. They're not exactly the same. They're the alpha-theta areas of brainwave activity. So, how is all hypnosis self-hypnosis? Well, first of all, you cannot be hypnotized to do anything. I repeat, you can't be hypnotized to do anything against your will. You cannot be hypnotized to do anything you don't want to do. And you can't be hypnotized to do anything that's outside of your moral, ethical code. Now, the only exception to this would be a situation that involves hypnotic or extreme mind-altering drugs, or where you aren't in control of your own mind, or extreme levels of brainwashing, where somebody's locking you down in the basement for years upon years and feeding you lies and reworking your mind and brain. This is a very devious type of thing. It could be done in a torture environment. These are not the things that are done in day-to-day hypnosis. So what we're talking about is clinical hypnosis or self-hypnosis, how you can use hypnosis to actually improve your mind, improve your brain. And the way hypnosis works has to do with accelerated learning. Okay? So there are basically two ways that you can learn. The first way that you can learn is through repetition. You already know this. So they say that it takes 30 days to form a habit. Some people say it takes as long as 90 days to form a new habit. So this is the key. When you're learning something, when you're truly learning it, what you're actually doing is forming a new habit. Now that habit could be something you do physically or something that you think automatically, a neural connection in your brain. Even if you're doing something physically, there are still billions of neural connections that occur in your brain in order for that thing to happen. And the more you do it, the more you repeat it, the more frequently you do it, and the more often, what ends up happening is pop, pop, pop. That becomes automatic, just like swallowing, right? You do it all the time. Breathing. Just like any habit, you can override it. And so just like breathing is automatic, until you start thinking about it, you can override it. So riding a bike is a habit. You learn how to ride a bike, you practice, you practice, you practice, you practice, you practice, until that fateful day when your muscles and your body and your brain all start reacting and balancing, and your legs start moving and your arms start moving the right way, and you make all the little micro adjustments in your body. The more you practice, the better you get. You never learn, you never forget how to ride a bike. But if you take 20 or 30 years off, you do get a little rusty. Unquestionably, your bike would get a little rusty too, right? So like any habit, if you can bring habits back a lot easier than you can form new ones, first of all. Secondly, is if you don't use it, you lose it. Now, it doesn't mean it's gone forever, but you're not going to be able to take 20 years off of a habit and then immediately be operating at that high level. So there are what we call good habits and bad habits, right? And a habit is a habit is a habit. So good and bad is all subjective. It's just a matter of what you happen to think is a good habit, what you happen to think is a bad habit, right? Some people would decide that, hey, smoking is a bad habit, right? Well, maybe and maybe not, right? Smoking 1 cigarette a day is a heck of a lot better than smoking 10 packs of cigarettes a day. And if you used to smoke 10 packs and you're down to 1 cigarette a day, that's a much, much, much better habit, right? So think about habits in terms, rather than good or bad, just think about the way you want your life to be. What are the habits that you could learn that could improve your life? Could you learn a new language and have it be automatic? Absolutely. Could you have the habit of exercising on a more regular basis? Yes, yes, yes. Could you have a habit of exercising even more when you do exercise? Of course. Could you have the habit of constantly saying super positive things to yourself to boost your own inner self-worth and self-confidence? Yes. Would that be better for you than negative things about yourself? Most likely. But again, it's entirely up to you. It's entirely subjective. Right? So you get to choose what the good habits are that you have and the bad habits are that you have. You can use self-hypnosis in order to establish new habits, to override the habits that you might not want anymore. But that's the real key about hypnosis and habits, is that you never try to break a bad habit. It's kind of a waste of your time. It takes an enormous amount of willpower and you probably won't get anywhere anyway. Instead, you want to establish new habits that give you a bigger, better, brighter payoff than the old habit. And so all habits have some sort of a payoff that you either get now or that you used to get when the habit was originally formed. So what I want you to do is think just for a moment about what's a habit that you'd like to form. So forget all the bad habits you want to get rid of. What's a habit that you would like to form that would make you a better you? Okay? Do you want to start eating vegetarian? That would be a great habit if you are into becoming a vegetarian. I'm not a vegetarian, by the way. My sister has been for a long time. So you can form whatever habits you want to. Do you want to start running 5 days a week, 6 days a week? Great habit for most people, for their cardiovascular health and for their overall well-being. Do you want to have more self-confidence throughout the day in your job or in your business? Of course, what a great habit. Do you want to be a better listener? Maybe to pay more attention to your spouse or your boyfriend or girlfriend or someone that you care very deeply about, maybe another family member or even someone you work with. Do you want to become a better listener, more attentive, right? More caring? Do you want to be on time? Do you want to be more punctual? Right? These are all good habits that you can form. Most people in the past have thought about bad habits, and you try to break bad habit and it's like hitting your head against a brick wall. There's nothing you can actually do to break a bad habit except create a more powerful good habit. So that's the real key with self-hypnosis, and that is the key with all hypnosis, which is if you don't want it, you ain't gonna get it. Okay? No one can force you to create new habits using hypnosis. That's not how it works. So if you have a son and your son's 16 years old and he recently took up smoking and you really wish that he would stop and you drag him kicking and screaming into a hypnosis office and you say, "Hypnotist, Mr. Hypnotist, hypnotize my son to quit smoking," and the son has zero interest, zero genuine interest, even if they're playing along with the parent and acting like they want to quit smoking, it's not going to work. You're not going to get anywhere. So unless you want, and I would even go so far as to say, desperately want to establish and create a new habit, it's going to be a challenge to create that new habit on purpose. Now, you create new habits all the time based on the situation that you're in your life and what it is that you're doing. So when you want to create a new habit, you need to change the situation in your life to support the creation of that new habit, and that's a big piece of the puzzle. So what a hypnotist does is helps you make the necessary conscious changes in your life that will support that new habit that's being created. But what they also do is a hypnotist turns around and will actually give you suggestions that your subconscious will soak up, will utilize and immediately start to form. They give you the guidance, the training, and the thinking insights, the little micro aha moments that you need in order to create those new habits. And that's exactly what I want you to do today. So think about one habit that you'd like to form in your life. Maybe it's eating more carrots. I don't know what it is for you. So just think about that one habit that you want to form. Seriously, right now, think about one habit, just focus on one. Don't worry, you have the lifetime to create a whole slew of new habits. But right now, I want you to think about one habit that you'd really like to establish, that you'd like to create the most in your life right now. Now, to give you some more ideas, generally speaking, there are 5 areas of key improvement that you can use in order to improve your life using hypnosis. Number 1. Physically, you can change your body. You can change how much you weigh, you can change your reflexes, you can change how your body works and functions, specifically as it relates back to your brain. I personally believe that the brain controls everything in the body, and that everything can be influenced in the body with hypnosis. Is this medically proven? No, it's not, but I've seen it time and time and time again in shocking and amazing areas. But there are some areas physically that have been proven time and time and time again that you can use hypnosis in the mind in order to get immediate reactions and results in the body. You can get rid of massive cases of warts using hypnosis. You can do open heart or even brain surgery using hypnosis as the only painkiller. There have been numerous medical studies done on all of these issues. You can create a blister on the back of the hand or the wrist using an ice cube and using hypnotic suggestions to suggest that it's a red hot fire poker. And blister goes up, and then get it on video, then you can put the blister back down during a hypnosis session using hypnosis alone. So you can create and remove things like blisters using the power of hypnosis. Hypnosis is amazing, amazing, amazing for any types of anesthetic. It's actually used with lots of folks who are allergic to most common painkillers. That's where that first started being used. There are numerous examples of hypnosis being used in the highest level of sports activity, from golf to archery to luge to basketball, baseball. Any areas of physiological sports performance, hypnosis is great because it all requires focus, tuned brain activity, as well as increased and more accurate reactions in the body. So we know we can use hypnosis to increase or decrease heart rate, to increase or decrease blood pressure, to increase or decrease body temperature. So these are some common examples of how you can use hypnosis to improve your life on a physical level. Mentally, you can use hypnosis to simply supercharge your mind, to clear your thoughts. You can use it to actually boost your IQ scores, to improve your memory. I've used hypnosis with students who wanted to learn Japanese. I don't know a word of Japanese, but I hypnotized them to have instant recall and accelerated learning and memory when it came to their Japanese lessons. Lo and behold, they aced their exams. So you can use hypnosis on yourself or with other people in order to perform at a higher level mentally and to recall more information, as well as speed up the rate at which you can soak up information. You can use hypnosis for accelerated reading, accelerated thinking. You can use hypnosis for mathematics. You can use hypnosis in any area of mental activity that you can imagine by simply giving yourself the right types of suggestions that your mind is keyed into for the area that you want to improve or the habit that you want to create. Maybe it be being fluent in Japanese. What a great habit, right? So think about hypnosis as habit forming. Hypnosis is habit forming, literally. It creates habits, but once you start using it, you'll find that you pretty quickly get addicted to using hypnosis to make tweaks, upgrades, and improvements in all areas of your life. Physically, we already talked about the body. Mentally, we already talked about mind. Spiritually is a really interesting area of hypnosis development. People use hypnosis in order to create a deeper feeling of connection with God and Spirit. You can use hypnosis in order to go into a far deeper meditative state than you ever have before, as well as a far deeper state of prayer, clearing your mind, focusing completely on your spiritual practice. But it doesn't end there. You can also use self-hypnosis to improve your life on a spiritual level. You can use self-hypnosis in order to do things metaphysically, such if you want to. If you're not into this, you don't need to worry work on any of these types of things. But if you are, it's a tremendously exciting time. Use hypnosis for astral projection. Use hypnosis for things like ESP development or telepathy. I've heard of people using hypnosis for telekinesis, literally moving objects with their mind. As outlandish as it sounds, if you believe it's possible, you can use any area of study and use hypnosis to dramatically accelerate that area of study. So physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, both internally and externally. And what that means is when you're using self-hypnosis to improve your life emotionally, your emotional state is responsible for how you feel from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, and everything in between while you're sleeping at night. So if you want your emotions to be more balanced, or hey, maybe you want to be more energized, maybe you want to be more loving and caring, maybe you are too caring and you want to distance yourself from another person emotionally, or you want to use hypnosis or self-hypnosis in order to actually get over or get past a relationship that you're having a hard time moving past and moving through. Hypnosis is really great for that. Hypnosis is great for overcoming problems with grief. If someone close to you has died recently or even not so recently, and it's just sticking with you, hypnosis is a great way to move past that point in your life so you're not miserable all the time. You can also use hypnosis to actually make you more attentive, more aware, and more connected to the people around you. This could be a husband or a wife. It could be to be more emotionally connected and attuned to your children. It could be more emotionally connected to someone that you work with, so that you don't argue with them if you normally butt heads with them. This is a great way of eliminating or dramatically reducing a lot of conflict in your life, because you can use hypnosis in order to calm and balance your own emotions and actually start looking at the world through someone else's eyes, stepping into someone else's shoes and experiencing the world from their perspective, so you can learn how to communicate with them. Even if they have no interest in becoming better at communicating with you, you can basically turn around and use self-hypnosis to become one of their friends, possibly even one of their best friends, if you desire to do that. Hypnosis is very, very, very powerful on an emotional level for these types of things, and I strongly encourage you to think about, rather than I wish someone else in my life would change, how can I change myself in order to make my experience of the world better? That's really what self-hypnosis is all about. Physically, spiritually, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and finally financially. Financially is a huge one for a lot of folks. You can use self-hypnosis to actually make more money. You can use it to increase your sales. You can use it in order to spot better opportunities. You can use it in order to overcome procrastination and start taking action on the ideas that you have. You can use self-hypnosis to program yourself with a higher level of follow-through. Amazing, amazing areas that you can use hypnosis for in order to truly, truly transform your life. So physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and financially are what I call the 5 key areas, or the 5 pillars of improvement that you can use self-hypnosis for. So how does all this work? How do you actually hypnotize yourself? Well, we talked about how hypnosis is accelerated learning. And what I'd like you to think about is why that works. So hypnosis is accelerated learning because we talked about repetition learning. You do something over and over and over again for 30, 60, 90 days. You do it every day until basically it's programmed into your mind and body to the point where it becomes automatic. So you can now tie your shoes while carrying on a conversation without even looking at your shoes, right? Whereas when you were a child, before you had that habit, you had to focus, you had to really think about, okay, where do I put the strings? How do I tie the bow, right? Now you can do it without even thinking about it. Boom, habit, right? So when you're forming these habits and you're doing these things over and over and over again, hopefully you brush and floss your teeth in the morning and the night automatically now, instead of it being a struggle to remember to brush and floss your teeth and to do it the right way each and every day, right? Habit forming. So how do you accelerate that process? How do you create habits much, much, much faster? Well, the way that you create habits faster is by bypassing the conscious or the critical factor. Now, kids do this really easily. That's why kids generally learn much faster than adults, but not anymore, not with self-hypnosis. The reason is because when you're a kid, you're not constantly second-guessing everything, because you don't have a lot of life experience that tells you what's right and what's wrong, what's possible and what's not, what's real and what's not. Right? When you're a kid, you're a sponge, you're soaking it up, and you haven't formed a neural net of resistance of the way the world is, or the way the world should be, or the way you expect it to work. You haven't formed all those thought habits yet. So with hypnosis, we bypass that critical factor that you form as you get older, as your opinion and belief about how the world works sets in. As that web is created, you go through your life and you see things. You say, "Oh, well, I'm into that," or I don't believe that. I don't agree with that. I don't think that's how that worked based on my experience." Well, when you're a kid, you don't have that experience. So as you get older and you form this net, you form this belief about how the world works, that belief about how the world works is a complex set of habits, of micro habits that are all filtered together that give you some grasp of what you believe is reality. And you'll find as you go through life, especially if you spend a lot of time around a lot of different types of people, that there are many, many, many ways and many beliefs about how the world actually works. Some of the most common, where you'll see the most conflict, are religious beliefs, where you see one group over here who believes that the world is this, and one group believes that the world is this, and they're constantly, in some cases, at war about it, right? They believe it so strongly. Politics is another example. The world is this way. The world is this way. What about a third world country that has never seen a cell phone, that is an area that's never seen running water, an area that has no electricity, or even deep in the jungle, a tribal village, and what they believe the world is totally different than what you and I believe the world is, and how the world works, right? So these micro beliefs are what form our net, our thinking about what is the world. How do we get past that? Because those thinking, that thought patterns, those habits that you have over and over and over and over and over, hundreds, thousands, millions, billions, trillions of times throughout your life, they reinforce, 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 reinforce. And when you collide with something that doesn't fit into your belief of the world, generally you put up resistance to it. You don't even, in many cases, you don't even notice that thing existed, right? Because it doesn't fit into your paradigm, into the way the world works. So, what we do with hypnosis is we bypass that neural net. We bypass your belief about what the world is, and we create a new belief around what the world is for you, or what you are capable of, to the point where you do that thing that you're now capable of without even realizing you do it. Presto, that's a habit. So the way we bypass the critical factor is something you probably already learned how to do, and I'd like to explain. When you learn how to drive, driving, you're in driver's ed, maybe you're 15, 16 years old, you're in driver's ed, you're learning how to drive. You're nervous, there's the teacher sitting next to you, there's no music playing, your cell phone is shut off so you don't get distracted, and so on and so forth, right? And finally, that fateful day comes and you pass your driver's ed exam. Congratulations, you now have your license, you can go out and you can drive with some friends. And so you go out to drive with some friends, and you turn on the music and you're listening to some music, and your friends are jabbering away in the back, and maybe you're on the cell phone, hopefully you're not texting and driving at the same time. And you glance up and you notice that the car in front of you has put their brakes on, and your adrenaline kicks in. Your foot starts hopping around on the floor of the car, desperately looking for the brake pedal because it's not a habit of exactly where it is yet. Finally, you slam down on that brake pedal. Your wheels lock up. They squeal to a halt, and either you ram into the back of the car in front of you, or you come really close. And then you relax. And what you realize is that you only have to do that once or twice in your life until the habit is formed that every time the brake lights in the car in front of you tap on, your foot at just the right speed, at just the right pressure, applies the pressure to your brakes. You continue on the conversation on the cell phone, you keep on singing along to your favorite song in the car, and you don't even remember the fact that you hit the brakes. You don't even remember it. You don't even realize it happened because it's ingrained. Well, that's bypassing the critical factor through intensity, where there was such an intense experience when you slammed on those brakes and the adrenaline was so high, and you blocked out all of the other input, sensory input that you had, or even thinking input that you had in your mind. Boom, the only thing in your world was pressing that brake to save your life and the lives of everyone in the car. Bam, habit forming. Okay, bypass the critical factor. Didn't matter what was real and what wasn't real. You bypass that neural net and you're there. That's exactly how hypnosis works, but it doesn't work through intensity. It works the other side, relaxation. So remember how we talked about repetition. You do something over and over and over again until you're bored, and you do it automatically. Until you're not thinking about it anymore, you're thinking about something else. Now you did it. That's what happens when you finally learn how to balance and ride a bike without anxiety. It's what also happens when you learn how to hit the brakes on your car. So that's exactly what happens when you're being hypnotized or using self-hypnosis. The way this works is someone is hypnotizing you, or maybe you created an audio program, or you're just running a mental self-hypnosis sequence in your head. And what happens is you go into that hyper-relaxed state, that state between being awake and asleep, the dreamy or daydreamy state, where you're not consciously thinking about what's being said, but you hear it kind of in the background. Kind of like if you're having a conversation with someone where you're completely engaged in the living room, but maybe the TV is on in the next room and you can kind of hear the news in the background, but you're not paying attention to the words. Or the music is on in the background at a party and you're having a conversation with someone and you know there's music playing and you kind of like it, but you don't really notice what songs exactly are playing, or you don't listen to the lyrics. It's out of focus, it's out of tune, but it's coming in. It's bypassing the critical factor even though you don't realize it. Boom, habit forming. You learn habits so much faster when you're doing this. Now the big thing is you can resist any habit, as we've already talked about. All hypnosis is self-hypnosis because it's exceptionally easy for you to say no. If you're in hypnosis and the fire alarm in the house goes off, you're going to open your eyes and you're going to go outside. Boom. That's what hypnosis is. Just as if a hypnotist were to say something to you that was against your moral ethical structure, your moral ethical belief on what is or isn't okay for you to do in your life. If you're ever given a suggestion in hypnosis that isn't cool with you, what you're going to do is ignore it or open your eyes and ask the hypnotist what the heck they're talking about. That's why it's so important that you desperately want to form the new habit, because when you do, you can learn it really, really, really quickly. So hypnosis is an accelerant, and it's an accelerator. It helps you, it's extremely convenient. It helps you get whatever you want faster. So that's the basic idea behind all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. And self-hypnosis is so important to me that I created what's called the self-hypnosis sequence, which is a 6-month training program that teaches you everything you need to know about how to hypnotize yourself to change anything in your life that you want to change right now, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, or financially. And if you're interested in self-hypnosis, you're going to love the self-hypnosis sequence. There's more information about that below. You can go ahead and click on the link to go and check out the self-hypnosis sequence. I think you're going to love it. We've had thousands of people go through the self-hypnosis sequence. It's our most popular program. And each and every week I actually hypnotize you to hypnotize yourself. I teach you these amazing techniques that you will learn how to use in order to make amazing and unquestionably accelerated transformation in your life. Telman Knutson, I hope you enjoyed this video all about self-hypnosis, and I look forward to seeing you inside the self-hypnosis sequence members area very, very soon. Again, go ahead and click on the link below, and I will see you on the other side.